Hi, I'm Phoebe. I'm a senior from London. I double major in dance and theatre, and my thesis was titled "Although I Do Not Know Where I'm Going Next," and it was exploring the concept that space on stage already has meaning, and how can you make possibly meaningless movement have a story just depending on where it is on stage. So I was looking at 4 big ideas, which was inside versus outside, which is the first section with a girl sitting inside the spotlight. And then the second section was looking at the diagonal, which is the longest distance on stage and how that can represent a journey. The third section was looking at domains and lack of domains, so that if there is not constructed space, what does that mean? And then the last section was what a center means and the home that you can find and all that big, powerful stuff.
So, I know each of you pretty well, but what I saw in your theses is that you guys had a lot of choreography that you'd use one phrase over and over again to resemble certain things. So how did you come up with that phrase that you'd be using throughout the entire piece?
Yeah, in the first rehearsal, I knew that I already had research on the center and stuff, so I wanted each of my dancers to make a phrase about their center, so they would all come up with something where one foot stayed grounded and they would be exploring the extreme reaches of their kinesphere. So we used that first rehearsal for manipulating a lot of material, just like Emily said, we would use each of their phrases and they would put them together in duets or chop them up and rearrange them. And I also made my own version of this prompt, so then that ended up getting used a lot through the piece. So I'd say that was the bulk of the material, and then as we went along, if I felt like we needed to use something else, I would kind of just whip something out with not really any meaning. It just happened.
This is more for Phoebe. A lot of people talked about having narrative as sort of the driving motivation behind their dance, but you talked more about physical space, and so I'm wondering, did you have a story in mind as well, or did the story come after? Content versus form, how does that all play in?
I did not have any story until halfway through the process, so we just started with movement and putting it in the space, and then as that started happening, I started to see a story, so then I would push people together, and I know in that diagonal section, that's where we get 2 really prominent figures, so that one was probably very narrative, but really I had no intention of making a story until it started happening. Yeah, and I kind of was surprised by that.
So I know that you all have done both composition and choreography in the past. What made this whole thesis experience kind of different for you, and how did you see yourself grow as a choreographer?
Yeah, I'd say more or less the same thing. I think I first took comp the first semester of my sophomore year, so I really didn't know anything by that point. And then I did 2 choreographies in my junior year, so I was still growing as a person through all this time, so I think all of my topics when I was younger were just really vague, and I probably just chose them for no reason, but this one had a lot of research going into it, and it really meant something to me, so even though I use a lot of the same techniques that I was learning in those classes, and probably using the same kind of choreographic techniques, they're just having meaning or some kind of research just really changed how I work as a choreographer.
You are all majors in dance and something else. How is dance and what you've done now going to infuse what your other major is?
I'm very lucky that dance really ties with my second major because it's theatre, and but I didn't know I was going to major in theatre. I declared dance, and then I was trying to figure out a second major, like Annie said, and I work in the costume shop here, so I make the costumes for the shows, and after doing that, I was like, wow, I really love this, I should do theatre, and I started taking all the theatre classes, and now that's really informed what I want to continue doing, so I'll be pursuing a career in costuming, so hopefully I will be doing a lot of dance alongside and making costumes for theatre and dance and opera and all those things, so I'm very lucky, everything ties together, and I'm happy.